My name is Caroline Casey and I'm a founder of the Valuable 500. 90% of our companies say they're committed to diversity and inclusion, but only 4% consider disability. So our challenge is you cannot say you are committed to inclusion and diversity if you're leaving out 15% of our population, because there are 1.3 billion people in the world who have a disability. That is 15% of our population, and if you don't consider it, you're leaving it out of the business ecosystem. So you're diverse it. So I think that disability hasn't been able to be equally on the business leadership agenda for so many reasons, and I'll talk forever about it, but these are my top few. Number one is the framing. So the framing of disability has often been in a charity model or a medical model, and it's stepped up to a societal model saying, I have a disability, but society disables me. But we forget there's a market model. That 1.3 billion people in the world have 8 trillion disposable income. If you have one person with a disability and a mum and dad, that's 53% of our population. We're a brand opportunity like anything else. Attraction and retention of talent right across a supply chain for productivity, innovation. So that's the misconception of why business wouldn't engage. The second, it's very complex. Disability is a very complex issue. Third is fear. But most importantly is lack of leadership. We have never had, until very recently with the Valuable 500, a leader to stand with 1.3 billion people in the world who have a disability, even though we know that EY, with a piece of research, has said 7% of our C-suite have a direct experience of disability, 4 out of 5 of them hide it. So until we get leaders to being accountable and responsible, because we operate in the shadow of a leader, then we will not see the resources that are required to make this part of business. So it's fear, complexity, just not an understanding of the business opportunity, and then lack of leadership. I think we have got into a place in our society that we hold our identities by one label. And if we even think about the conversation we've just had this afternoon, is that we are in a way nearly pitting our agendas or our identities against each other. This a la carte or pick and mix inclusion or hierarchy of inclusion around one identity, whether I happen to be a woman, or I happen to be Asian, or I happen to be gay, or I happen to have a disability. Labels are limiting. And you and I are full of loads of labels. So I'm a woman and I have a disability and I'm blonde and I'm into dancing and I was a management consultant. You know, there were so many labels, but if we totally focus on one and pit it against the other, how are we ever going to have full human inclusion? The Valuable 500 is an absolute passion for me. And what it really is doing is getting those leaders, creating a critical mass of leadership accountability. My challenges should be making sure the cultures of their organization are representative of the societies to which they operate in, and they are accountable and responsible. So the Valuable 500 it was launched in Davos this year, which is seriously historic, and it is challenging 500 CEOs around the world to simply put disability on their board agenda in 2019. And it doesn't matter if the company has never done anything, or it's scaling, or it's leading. It's about the CEO being responsible, and it is the intention behind the CEO to do something with it. And if you bring that critical mass together, can you imagine what it would be like to have 500 CEOs, 500 brands, 500 workforces triggering or catalyzing the release of potential of 15% of our population? Like, we need everybody at their game right now in our world. I think the thing that I feel very strongly about professionally is keep your word. And I think that in this time when we're so busy, we may make a promise and then we don't fulfill it. And I think as a leader or anybody, your word is your honor. Keep your word.